Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's topic, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Bgood 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I do hope your day is going well so far. And your journey to self-betterment is going fantastic. Today I want to talk about narcissistic abuse in Japan. Why do I want to talk about narcissistic abuse in Japan, you might ask? Well, I just watched a video clip of a young man talking about his horrible experiences being abused in his home of origin. But what stuck out with me was he stated that whenever he would try to bring up things that happened to him in the past at the hands of his mother, in his words, would seem to have a memory lapse and not be able to remember these events at all. Doesn't that sound so familiar to what you and I experienced in our home? Furthermore, his mother, from what he said, would also blame her toxic behavior onto his father. Now I haven't been able to find the entire interview, as this is an interview setting, where it appears to be either possibly a doctor of some kind, or maybe just a journalist trying to get this young man's story. But it's set up to get this young man's formal accounts of what happened to him growing up. And again, I don't know if the father was a toxic enabler, or his father was just scared, or his father was in on the show with the mother as a toxic abuser himself. I don't know. But what I do know is what this young man described sounded so familiar with how his mother wouldn't even remember what she had done. It's called gaslighting. In my situation, my mother would be able to easily deny certain events ever took place, or claim she had no memory of such events. Or she would blame certain things she did on my deceased father. She never would own up to what she did and say sorry and try to fix the problem. And in this young man, I could see the pain in his face, though he outwardly had little expression. You could tell he just wanted his mother to say she was sorry and hug him, and try to fix the problem. And that's the problem right there, and that's the problem that snags us up later in life. You see, growing up, I would try to really work with my mother to try to fix things in our home. I mean, I really worked at it, to the point of it making me sick physically. I would try to reason with my mother. I would beg and plead with my mother. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, I wish so badly that someone would have come to me when I was young and they would have said, "James, your mother is mentally sick. You are wasting your time and energy. Your mother will never ever change. Please focus on your life and don't worry about what your mother is doing, because she can't be helped and she can't be fixed." I wish someone would have lovingly took the time to do that for me. But instead I spent so much time essentially trying to get my mother to love me. And this became a theme and a pattern for my life. And with people I got entangled with, such as my ex Susie. Instead of seeing their toxic nature and fleeting, I would try to figure out why they were treating me so badly today, when yesterday they treated me so well. I had no frame of reference of being treated with love consistently where it was never taken away. So I would try to talk with Susie, reason with her and work with her, much like I did with my mother. And I see the pain in this young man's eyes. He likely was doing the same thing. It's just sad. The problem I noticed in this little clip, I didn't hear any talk about narcissism, narcissistic abuse, or gaslighting. Not from the person that was interviewing him. And not from anyone. Does he know what narcissism is? Does he know that he was likely the victim of a narcissistic mother? Does he know that when she says she can't remember, she's gaslighting him more than likely? Do they talk about narcissistic abuse in Japan? You see, all over the world, talking about your parents in a negative way is a big no-no. especially if you are talking about your mother. And that's what in my opinion allows narcissism and narcissistic abuse to flourish and grow. And as I've said before, narcissists, no matter they be man or woman, will use whatever social norms they can that are in their favor to get away with doing the horrible things they do. Well, that being said, if you are in a Western country where talking about your parents in what is seen as a negative way is frowned upon, it's likely triple that in places like Japan. There is a lot of family honor in Japan. This young man talked about wanting to do something to himself that wasn't so good. If that makes sense. And then you start to see trends. Japan is a very competitive place in regards to jobs, schooling and family honor. This young man was very smart and was said to be a straight A student, but seemed to not be good enough for possibly both parents, but for sure not his toxic mother. I'm not sure about the father. And what's also interesting, get ready for it, his younger brother was treated well by the parents. This is starting to sound familiar, isn't it? A golden child and a scapegoat. I wonder if this golden child asks as many questions. It sounds like the scapegoat is aware of right and wrong. He's probably highly empathic. He probably, like myself, as I've talked about before, would say, that's not right. Or I would ask questions to things, regarding things my mother wanted me or my brother to do. I knew when something was wrong. And my mother, I believe, knew she couldn't get me to fully jump to her side in a complete lie when she needed me to do so. And it was because of that. She got in front of what she noticed to be a problem. And she smeared my name with everyone she could, to make it seem like I was the problemed kid in the house and how I was causing her so much stress and problems. And likely this was the role of this young man, where his younger brother probably realized it's better to go along to get along. At least in his young mind anyway. And this lets the parents know they can depend on him to keep up with their lies. Plus, narcissist parents love this dynamic. They get their highs or jollies by watching the pain caused in their home, where one kid is treated like royalty and the other treated like a prisoner of war. And the pain in the one mistreated kid that is caused by literally seeing their sibling being treated well, getting all the perks, and not knowing how to fix this problem. Folks, this problem regarding narcissism is worldwide, like we say. And the narcissists, they are all reading off of the same sheet of music. With that said, does Japan know about narcissism? Do they talk about narcissism? Is it something they are aware of? I have gotten messages from people all over the world, but I really don't have a pulse on what is going on over there in Japan. But from what I could tell from this interview, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but it seemed like they don't talk about this problem very much at all. And if that is the case, please know it wasn't your fault. If you were raised by a parent or parents that did this to you, it wasn't your fault. And you will never, and I mean never, get an answer from your narcissist parent. So please stop trying to get one, because that answer will never ever come. Never. I'm sorry to say. And it's hard. It's really hard. I will tell you. That was the hardest thing to deal with. And that was my mother never admitting to what she had done to myself and my brother. And that set me up for failure in life to look for trying to fix Susie and others that had similar problems, instead of trying to save myself. With that said, I'm sending this message out to you, Japan. You aren't alone. You aren't alone. And no matter where you are at in the world, really, you might be in the part of the world that even more so than the West frowns on talking about your parents really badly. And again, I think this is a way to keep narcissism and narcissistic abuse going. Because here's the thing. If you are a good parent, and you raise your kids with love and kindness, there's a very big chance your kids are going to grow up talking about you very highly. But what we expect as a society, or the parents, to no matter what horrible thing they do, To not say one bad word about them. Because if you do, society will turn on you and you will become the bad guy or the bad girl. And the only way you can talk bad about them is if they are led away in handcuffs on the 6 o'clock news. Then society can say, that's a bad parent. And now you the kid can say, they are a bad parent. But until then, you must keep up the family honor and speak about them like they are a saint. And the narcissist parent eats it up. They just eat it up. But I would like to know more about what is happening in different parts of the world. Especially in this instance, as I watched this interview from Japan. Had me screaming inside. Narcissistic abuse. This guy is talking about narcissistic abuse. Why won't anyone call it what it is? Because narcissists don't want us to call it what it is. Because it interferes with their ability to gain narcissistic supply. Because that is the name of the game. Narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply. Well, that's all I have for now. Please people, chime in on this one. I would like to hear what you have to say. Especially if you are from Japan. Oh, and this interview was from RT, I think. I could be wrong. If someone has a way to contact this young man and send him to my channel. And if you can speak English and can translate for him. If he doesn't speak English, I would appreciate it. I don't have a way of doing a formal interview with him. But I would like to at least have my channel available to him. Because I would like him to see the truth. And to know it's not his fault. So he can get to a better place in his life. Well, that's all I have for now. I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.